Hey everybody, and welcome to this special on the new moon in Libra on the 21st of October at 1:25 p.m. GMT time. So now I'm going to talk about what the new moon represents in astrology and what the spiritual and psychological meanings are, and just the things we can do. So all in all, in astrology, the new moon is a catalyst, it's the pulse, it's the ground that can provide us with personal growth and transformation if we are willing to, take the new beginnings. This energy wants us to do. It wants us to take fresh starts. This could even mean restarting a project or relationship for some of you. And it is also a powerful tool for manifesting your goals and intentions. So it marks the perfect opportunity for self-reflection, intention setting, and as the moon disappears from the view, because we don't really see the moon at the time of the new moon, it invites us to turn inward, reflecting on our desires and whether they align with our goals, our life purpose and our true authentic self. And by actively engaging in the new moon energy, we can promote more clarity and focus within ourselves, and using tools such as journaling, meditation or creating vision boards, which I'll go a bit more in depth about later, can really help us focus. Now remember, tools like journaling, meditation and vision boards, they help us recognize our emotions, let go of our emotions, visually see what we want to manifest, but we have to take practical action, daily steps to bring desired reality into reality. So yeah, we can take this attentional approach, and this allows us to plant the seeds of our goals, nurturing them in the fertile ground of our subconscious mind. So it puts a spotlight on our thoughts. A lot of the time we have these thought patterns that we need to release, and the only way to release them is to take time to work through our psychological, emotional and spiritual traumas. The new moon also symbolises the cyclical nature of life. We have spring, then we have summer, then we have autumn, and then we have winter. So it reminds us that just as the moon phases transition, from new to waxing gibbous and full moon and crescent moon, so can our circumstances and mindset. So we can change. We feel that we can't change because we've been programmed to conform, and a lot of people say, oh, once you pass a certain age, or people like you don't do this or that, but it's up to you what you do with your life. So it encourages us to release our limiting beliefs and past disappointments, making way for personal transformation on all levels by reprogramming our subconscious mind, so we can seek out tools. Speakers like James Allen, Florence Goverson, Marcia Rosenberg, Scott M. Peck, Neville Goddard, even Manly P. Hall, who else, Louise Hay, Tara Brach, Jiddu Krishnamurthy, Anthony DeMello have helped me reprogram my subconscious mind. So you search out the tools that help you, because that's part of it. You can listen to them while you're driving, while you're sleeping. You'd be amazed what the mind picks up, and how, slowly doing things to change the negative thoughts in your subconscious mind can help you to let go of what no longer serves you and create a space for new opportunities to enter your life if you take care of it on the mind, body and soul level. So taking care of your mind by working through your traumas, taking care of your body by eating right, sleeping right, eating the right foods for you, and taking care of your soul by engaging in some sort of spiritual practice. And if we're willing to do this, we can empower ourselves to take charge of our growth and align with the universe's natural rhythms. So spiritually, as I said, it wants us to confront innermost thoughts, feelings and goals without the distractions of the external world. So taking some time out, even if it's just 5 minutes to be alone in your car, in your room, in your home, if you live alone, if people are out. And by embracing the stillness and darkness of the new moon, we can dig into our subconscious, uncovering hidden truths and recognize desires. And through this self-reflection, we can also uncover ways to face our hidden truths, use our hidden talents, and to meet our unrecognized repressed desires. It serves as a pathway to understanding our soul's purpose and aligning our life with it. And as we increase our connection to our inner wisdom, practices such as lighting candles, intention setting ceremonies, and even guided visualizations or energy clearing rituals can help facilitate and support you gain a deeper sense of self-awareness on your spiritual journey. And as you honour this sacred time, you may find that the new moon not only illuminates your aspirations, but also reveals the obstacles that get in the way of your growth. And a lot of the time, we are the ones, our mindset, our unwillingness to let go, our need to stay in our comfort zones are often the big reasons we don't live the lives we want, or the toxic ways we relate to ourselves and others, or the toxic ways we allow our other people to relate to us. And again, this is not about victim blaming or anything like that. A lot of the time we can get in these coercive relationships and situationships that we can find it hard to get out with, but by reaching out to maybe organisations that can help you, and I know they're limited, but by really making a plan, especially if you are in a coercive relationship, and make sure you put it in a safe space on how you can get out of the circumstances you are in that is stopping you from being empowered. So ultimately, the new moon is about, it's new, but it's also dark, and darkness is not something we normally, put together with, newness, but it wants us to embrace the duality and create a sense of balance within ourselves between our strengths and weaknesses, light and dark, and to try and build some more self-worth, confidence and clarity into our lives, or to continue to build it if you're already working on that. So ultimately, it's a sacred time of renewal where we can develop, cultivate more self-awareness, love, forgiveness, acceptance, and create a profound connection to the universe and our spirit, our higher consciousness. Talking more about the esoteric, the mundane interpretations of the new moon, it wants us to, reflect on what we wish to cultivate in our life, write down specific goals and desires, and, create a tangible reminder of your intentions, reinforcing your commitment to pursuing them as the moon, waxes through its stages, encourages us to release the past and let go of habits that no longer serve you. And this process of decluttering your emotional, spiritual and psychological baggage can create space for you to have more renewed passion about the life that you're living, or the life you want to create for yourself. So, choose a ritual that resonates with you and take some time out for quiet reflection, and create an environment, that's right, productive for you to be able to bring more practicality and stability into your life. More about the esoteric meanings. Symbolically, it wants us to connect with our inner self and the universe, your higher power, whatever you call it, using visualization or intuitive readings from others or from yourself, and you're just sitting there with yourself and allowing yourself to access hidden knowledge and guidance that enriches your spiritual journey. And as the new moon represents on the esoteric level the darkness of the womb a lot of us were born in the womb. It invites us to explore the depths of our psyche, creating self-discovery and inner wisdom. You can use tools such as tarot cards, crystals or astrology to enhance your understanding of this phase, and you may consider selecting a specific tarot card or any other card that resonates with your intentions, or use crystals that align with new beginnings like clear quartz, which I can recommend, or moonstone. And it just wants us to take these moments of quiet reflection to listen to our intuition and uncover insights that may have previously eluded you, you may have ignored or you may have not been able to grasp before. So by deepening your spiritual practice in this way, you can align yourself with the natural rhythms of the cosmos, and ultimately it wants you to engage in things that can help you and connect with yourselves. So any form of meditation such as mindfulness, breath work, mantra can help you, center your thoughts and emotions. Also, lighting a candle or using incense to purify your area, allowing the ambience to support your focus. You can write your intentions on paper and express them clearly and positively, and this act not only nullifies your desires but also reinforces your commitment to manifest them in coming weeks. So by visualizing the energy of the new moon and see it enveloping you, surrounding you, protecting you, comforting you, and allowing you to have more motivation. And some of you may choose to repeat affirmations that align with your intentions, but remember, you need to also put practical actions into any tool that you are using. It's not just about visualizing or affirming, it's about, creating a life, changing your life habits so you can provide the right ground for these things to manifest, and by engaging in mindful rituals you can transform your life as you start, not only this new journey, but a new phase of your life, if you wish so. So yeah, that's the end of, looking at what the new moon means from all angles. So the new moon in Libra isn't just about asking you to learn new steps, because this opens like, imagine an astrological dance floor and we've been handed a brand new partner who has some really good moves, and if you imagine this new moon as shoving us onto the dance floor with a sort of, right then, off you go, tally-ho, get on with it, mate. And it can make you feel like, am I leading this dance or am I following it? But it's not really, Libra energy. It's people pleaser, it's gentle, it wants harmony, right? So it's in a delightful way, a good way. It can be a bit disorientating and mind-bending, but it's chill, So ultimately, the theme of this new moon in Libra is partnership awakening. So not just partnerships with other people, but our partnership with ourselves, right? And it's happening in Libra, which is an air sign, right? And as I said, it wants us to focus on relationship harmony with all, the different parts of our own personality and the people we're in relationship with, friends, family, lovers, business partners, colleagues, and all of that, and to create balance in our relationship and to manifest relationships as well. This energy is really good for that. So the peak time of this energy is at 1:25 p.m. on the 21st. The moon enters Libra at 5:07 in that morning, and it's making the sun and the moon are making a square to Jupiter, a quincunx to Uranus and Neptune, and a square to Pluto, and an opposition to Chiron. So I'm going to talk about what all of that means later. Yeah, this new moon happens in the 5th degree of Libra, which has a man teaching the true inner knowledge as its Sabian symbol. We also have a T-square and a grand trine happening, and this same degree rules the Rena pyramid. So as you know, I'm going to go in depth and explain what all of this means for us. And as I said, it's a manifestation portal for authentic partnerships that are balanced. So imagine, as I said, it's the equivalent of, Strictly Come Dancing or any other dancing show, except instead of learning the foxtrot or any other dance, like body popping or whatever, twerking, whatever, you're mastering the complicated, intricate choreography of authentic relationship and balanced partnership. The energy here is asking us to step into new ways of relating, not just romantically, but in every area where we interact and relate with others, including the most important relationship, as I said, that we should all be having with ourselves, discovering all the different personality traits we have and learning to manage them, right? So it revolves around genuine partnership, creation, and learning to dance the delicate balance between independence and interdependence while avoiding codependency. That's the positive. And Libra's natural gift for harmony is supercharged by this new moon energy, and as I said, it creates the perfect conditions for attracting relationships that actually increase rather than diminish, reduce your authentic self. So this isn't about finding someone to complete you. It's about finding people who complement your already complete self and going within and looking at parts that need healing so you can become whole, from within. Negatively, the challenging parts of this is we can be tempted to lose ourselves in, going after harmony at any sake, the sake of our detriment to our mental and physical well-being, creating relationships based on performance rather than authenticity. And we have, squares and oppositions, as I said, and I'll talk a bit about them later on. With all these squares and oppositions, there's a risk of trying to force balance when natural flow would work better. So it's asking us to, figure out what works for us in our relationship. Also, it brings challenging energy that reminds us that sometimes we have to get dizzy, go through hard times, before we find our true rhythm. So sometimes we have to go through the toxic relationships and figuring out what we want and dealing with our shadow traits and, learning how to turn our weaknesses into strengths, or at least manage them, right? To be more realistic, and we have to go through these obstacles so we can get what we want finally, The best use of this new moon energy is to create clear intentions, whether you write them down, think them, voice note them, about the kinds of relationships you want to manifest, or how to improve your current relationships, whether it be business, romantic, creative, or spiritual relationship, and whether you're looking at, making these relationships stronger within yourself through entrepreneurship, self-love, being more creative and deepening or starting a spiritual practice. So it's a brilliant energy for manifestation rituals that involve two people, whether it's joint meditation, partner yoga, or even just having meaningful conversations about said dreams and goals. So, rituals that you can do, you can set up manifestation spaces with pairs of everything, 2 candles, 2 crystals, 2 flowers, because remember, Libra is about the scales, balancing those scales right. Write partnership intentions on beautiful paper or any other intentions, then bury or burn them together with a trusted friend or partner or on your own, getting all the different sides of your personality to work together. If you're single, perform the ritual as a dance between your masculine and feminine energies, literally moving your body as you set intentions. Practice mirror meditation, gazing into your own eyes while affirming your readiness for authentic partnership. use affirmations like I attract relationships that honour my authenticity, and I manifest partnerships built on mutual growth and respect. Dance meditation can work beautifully with this energy. Put on music that makes you feel balanced and move with intention. So in terms of the energies involved, we've got the sun in Libra and the moon's there as well. So as I said, it brings our consciousness and our awareness to relationship patterns and the way we may desire more fairness, beauty and harmony in our relationships with others and ourselves. And the moon in Libra turns up the emotional needs for partnership, aesthetic beauty for things to look good, right, and feel good. And it can also bring up a deep soul longing for relationships that feel like coming home to yourself. And with Jupiter in Cancer as part of the T-square, I'm going to go in depth about explaining the different T-squares later, right? This expands our ability, our capacity for nurturing our relationships, while potentially it can make us be too codependent and, do too much emotional caretaking. So it's important to make sure we only, do our half of the work in any relationship, because each relationship takes at least two people to make it work. If it's with others, or getting to know yourself, your psychological, emotional, spiritual and other needs, so that you can balance them and know them and look after them, right, and heal the parts of yourself that need healing. So it's ultimately great energy for manifesting relationships that balance emotional nurturing with intellectual connection and practical support, as well as that romantic spark. And we're being asked to dance between all these elements, looking after our emotional needs, our intellectual needs, our spiritual needs, our practical needs, and that romantic need, without losing our own rhythm in the process of doing this, or we have to find the rhythm if you're not in it, So now I'm going to talk about aspects in a bit more deeper detail that the moon's making and the sun's making at the time of this new moon. So I've got the sun and the moon making a square to Jupiter. So this allows for more optimism in our relationships, but it can also make us overdo things and have unrealistic expectations, right? It also can make us feel more positive and more generous about receiving and giving love, and having faith in relationships, in our ability to attract them and improve them, But the challenge comes with this influence that we can promise more than we can do at this time, or expect too much too soon from new connections, or expect too much from other people we've been in relationship with for a while. So the best use of this energy is to stay grounded in realistic timelines and expectations, and also focus on the big picture details of relationships, long-term planning. The sun and the moon are quinquats Uranus, so it's an awkward but liberating aspect that can bring unexpected changes to relationship patterns and routines, It supports breaking free from limiting relationship patterns and being open to unconventional partnership approaches, but it can add to the disruptions in our relationship stability and us feeling stable within ourselves, and we can have a difficulty integrating any need for freedom and independence with commitment right now. So it adds to the energy of us being able to manifest relationships that honour our authentic self and unique needs, or change our relationships, that respects everyone's involved's authentic selves and unique needs, The sun and the moon makes a quinquats to Neptune. So this brings, spiritual and romantic idealism to this new moon in Libra. And we may have to change our perspective, our outlook on what romance means to us, what spirituality means to us, especially between, our dreams, our highest hopes, right, and what's actually real. So it can make us be idealistic, ignore people's faults, ignore red flags, and wanting to escape into like a dreamlike reality. All Neptune energy makes us do this, and the quinquats is a aspect which means that it may need us to change our approach several times a day. So because Neptune's involved with the sun, you know, our ego, and the moon are our emotions, it can make us escape into drugs, alcohol and any other distraction rather than focusing on the practicalities. Positively though, it helps us to manifest soulmate connections or find the soulmate within ourselves, which I say we should all do. It can make us begin or add more spirituality into our relationships, and it really gives us the romantic inspiration for manifestation work. So it's a really good new moon to manifest under, you know, but it can add to us projecting our emotions and highest wishes onto others without them actually being able to live up to our expectations. We can be idealistic, as I said, and get lost in fantasy rather than building real relationships or focusing on reality. So the best use of this energy is to visualize ideal partnerships while staying grounded in practical relationship building and not ignoring those red flags, you know. We've got the sun and the moon making a square to Pluto. So this allows us to make those deep changes and transformations in how we approach power dynamics and intimacy in our relationships. It helps us to heal our relationship patterns, especially our toxic ones, and adds to our power to, you know, rebuild our existing connections from the ground up. So it's not always about letting go of relationships, even if there's some toxicity in them. It's about finding ways to let the toxicity out, but negatively it can add to power struggles, jealousy, obsessiveness and control in relationships, where we try to control relationship outcomes without respecting the wishes of other people involved. It's a good energy that allows us to do that shadow work at the time of the new moon, especially around our, you know, if you avoid relationships, it's good to do shadow work around that. It also helps us with manifesting relationships that are based on authentic power sharing. So, you know, this new moon is really wanting us to get authentic in our relationships and within our self-expression as well, and providing the energy for us to do so. So, as I said, we've got 2 T-squares. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about what a T-square is in astrology and the positives and negatives of a transiting T-square. So a T-square in astrology is when 3 or more planets, normally some people count points. I will only count a point such as the moon's north node if it was like conjunct a planet like Venus at the same degree, something like that in a T-square. I wouldn't necessarily include it on its own. So yeah, a T-square is when 3 or more planets form a right-angled triangle in the transit chart, and this configuration involves 2 planets being involved each other, creating tension, and a third planet squares both of the opposing planets, and this is why it's called like a T-square, because it looks like a T. And the positives of a transiting T-square include increased motivation for growth and change, opportunities for self-awareness and transformation, and the potential for breakthroughs in difficult situations. It can act as a catalyst for personal development and push us outside of our comfort zones. Negatively, we can struggle with decision making due to the conflicting energies. We can experience a heightened emotional intensity, leading to stress or anxiety and challenges in communication and our relationships. And it can also kind of bring internal conflict to some of us as well, because of the external obstacles that come, or the internal thoughts of unresolved psychological, emotional and spiritual trauma that can come up. And dealing with these issues internally or externally that come up can require patience and resilience to overcome. So yeah. So the first, between Jupiter, the Moon and Sun in Libra, which is opposite to Pluto in Capricorn, adds pressure for us and allows us to change the things in our relationships that needs to be changed, right? Allowing us to authentically share power in our relationships and let go, dismantle out updated relationship patterns. The Sun and the Moon in Libra soften Pluto's intensity, right? So it allows us to have constructive rather than destructive change, because Pluto's in Capricorn, bringing that grounding Earth energy. And the second T-square with Chiron retrograde in Aries, that's opposing Jupiter in Cancer, and squaring, the Sun and the Moon, allows us to heal through being more emotional, vulnerable with ourselves and others, and it allows our relationship wounds to become kind of portals, opportunities for deep healing when we balance, our self-assertion with nurturing connection and relationships, right? Especially the one that we should be having with ourselves. We also have a grand trine between Mercury and Mars in Libra, and Saturn retrograde in Pisces, and Jupiter in Cancer. So now I'm going to talk about what a grand trine is in astrology, the positives and negatives of a transiting grand trine. So a grand trine in astrology is when 3 planets are in an equilateral triangle, and they're each approximately 122 degrees apart. And this configuration creates a harmonious flow of energy between the 3 planets involved, enchanting their respective qualities. So positively, it can increase our creativity and productivity, and it can bring more emotional balance and stability into our life, especially in challenging times. So it's a nice, easy energy to work with. It can bring increased intuition and insight, so we can gain deeper insights into our life path and decisions, and this can help us make more informed choices and just become more balanced and stable within as well. But negatively, we can lack motivation and complacency, because trine energy comes easy, it's harmonious, not challenging, and this can cause us to be passive and unmotivated in going after our goals. This is why a lot of individuals with a lot of trines in their chart, trine and harmonious aspects like sextiles cannot use them, because everything can come so easily. They're not aware, and they can miss their opportunities, thinking they'll always come. There can also be an overemphasis on our comfort zone, and we can rely too heavily on what we know rather than newness, and this can make us be stagnant and miss opportunities. So this allows us to stay stable while we are going through the challenges of this energy that's happening on the new moon, right? And this water-air pattern allows us to be intellectually flexible, as well as being deep in our emotional expression, and it allows us to restructure, change, make the changes in our relationship communication patterns while maintaining fairness and emotional attunement to ourselves and other people's needs. But again, we have to watch out for not people pleasing, speaking our mind, right, and making sure that yes, we try to meet others' needs, but we allow our needs to be met as well. We also have a yard that's happening between the Sun and the Moon in Libra, Neptune retrograde in Pisces, and Uranus in Taurus, which is also retrograde as well. So a transiting yard is also known as the finger of God in astrology, and this aspect is formed when 2 planets are sextile, so that's 60 degrees apart, and both of these planets make a quincunx, which is 150 degrees to a third planet. So 2 planets sextile, both of those planets make a quincunx to another third planet, or planets if that third planet is conjunct to another planet. So this creates a narrow egg-elongated triangle shape in the transiting chart, and a transiting yard can increase our awareness of our purpose or calling. It can give us opportunities for growth and transformation, and it's a potent energy that really allows us to break free from old patterns that no longer serve you, and or habits, so it can act as a cosmic push towards self-discovery and personal development, and this can lead to a deeper understanding of your true path in life. It can bring about unexpected blessings or connections that push you towards your goals. But negatively, it can sometimes be overwhelming energy, and confusing to understand all the push and pause, because, the quinquats is a struggle, so you push and pull. You've got two planets that are like, yeah, we love each other, and then they make these quinquats to the third planet and they're not loving each other as much anymore, So it requires us to confront deep-seated fears and insecurities, and it can be challenging and emotionally draining. It can also, as I said, be confusing, leading to uncertainty and doubt about our choices and, which direction should we go, and all of that as well. And also, the challenges triggered by a transiting yod can disrupt our existing routines and our relationships, and it can just cause internal turbulence and changes. And it's essential to approach this energy with an open mind and a willingness to embrace change as resisting transformation, whatever it is that comes up, at the time of a transiting yod, whatever comes to your attention. You may be like, oh no, I don't want to change, but resisting the change can just lead to extended feelings of discomfort and stagnation, just staying in the same old routine. So the yod's like, okay, I know this thing has been comforting, or these things, and maybe you needed these things at one stage in your life, but now it's time to let go and move on to something new. So yeah. And again, it's destabilizing energy, but it can liberate us from, the toxicity in our relationships by giving us insights into what needs to be changed. And it forces us to make changes, just between idealistic visions and ideas and the practical realities, of living the life with the people we have in our life in the ways that we want. Some of you may get reeled about relationships you need to end, or relationships you need to start, things you need to heal within yourself, and all of that stuff, right? In terms of the retrograde, with Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Pisces, and Chiron retrograde in Aries, and Uranus retrograde in Taurus, this new moon demands, us to really go within ourselves and do deep, significant inner work and shadow work, and it supports us in doing that before we manifest into external reality the things we want to manifest, right? So these retrogrades want us to review our boundaries, which is represented by Saturn retrograde, clear illusions, our sort of idealistic, unrealistic ways of thinking, and heal our deep wounds, which is represented by Chiron, and liberate from stagnation, routine and our comfort zone, which is represented by Uranus. So ultimately, this new moon creates a cosmic pressure cooker for relationship transformation, but the supportive aspects prevent total collapse of structures and routine. The message is clear though: partnerships require change, restructuring through conscious communication, emotional honesty, and spiritual alignment with core values, especially the relationship we each need to be having with ourselves. And with lots of retrogrades, it shows that journaling, meditation, and inner reflection rather than immediate action allow the seeds planted at this new moon to germinate internally before sprouting visibly in the coming lunar cycle. So it's really important to think before we act and react, and to get clear about what we want authentically. Do you believe really the things you say you believe? Are you happy in your relationships? Are you happy with yourself? And it's not about tearing everything down, it's about getting real and thinking about ways you can make it, make your life better, make whatever needs changing, writing it down, coming up with a clear plan before executing it and manifesting what you want to manifest into your day-to-day life by small daily changes and actions, right? So now I'm going to talk about the Sabian degrees that are influencing this new moon in more depth. So we have the Sun and the Moon in the 5th degree of Libra, as I said. And this imagery is a man or a person, teaching the true inner knowledge, and it rules the Vena pyramids, and it wants us to bring wisdom into our relationships and filter truth from performance. So thinking about the ways that you put on an act, you lie to others, you wear the social mask, and we all have to kind of do this sometimes, but sometimes we can become too inauthentic, So thinking about the ways you are inauthentic and thinking about how you can become more authentic. So this degree, the 5th degree of Libra, represents the conscious sharing of wisdom within relationship and partnership, right? And it wants us to teach authentically or learn authentically, share inner wisdom, and it wants us to find a balance between knowledge and relationship, conscious mentorship, and integrate all of these, right? So, thinking about how we can help people in the right ways, how we can share knowledge, but how we can and our careers as well, how we can balance our work life with home life and our relationship commitments and all of that, right? So psychologically, it's the archetype of the wise teacher who shares knowledge not for ego, but for genuine service to others' growth. Positively, this can manifest as mutual teaching and learning, sharing authentic wisdom and partnerships that support spiritual growth at this time, but it can also lead to teaching without living, embodying the wisdom, using knowledge to maintain superiority in relationships, and spiritual bypassing through intellectualization of everything, so making the irrational, because spirituality can be a bit like that if we're talking about purely logical thought, right? Some things are meant to be unknown or felt and not intellectualized and overthought, and so it wants us to and supports us to manifest relationships where both people or people involved are teachers and students to each other. So once again, highlighting that need for balance in relationships and us being able to listen to others' opinions as well as give our own opinions. In terms of the esoteric meanings, it reminds us of the sacred transmission of wisdom through intimate relationships, partnerships as spiritual initiation, and conscious creation of knowledge. Negatively, it brings our attention to the misuse of spiritual authority in relationships, teaching what we haven't integrated into our day-to-day life, and using mystical knowledge to manipulate others as well. So in terms of the lunar magic application, we can create teaching circles with our partner or community and use relationship experiences as conscious spiritual practice. In terms of our emotional health, it helps us balance emotional teaching and learning in relationships, feelings as wisdom rather than demand or manipulate. It brings our attention in terms to our spiritual health, to partnerships that support authentic spiritual growth, and teaching and learning as forms of devotional practice with others. Physical health, it wants us to focus on our kidney health and filtration systems, drinking more water and looking after, the practicalities of looking after our kidney, right? It also think about how teaching and learning affect our physical energy and boundaries. Psychologically, it wants us to integrate knowledge through relationship experiences, healing the teacher-student dynamic vibes from childhood. Practically, rituals, manifestation ceremonies where we teach something to a partner and learn something in return are really good right now. Knowledge exchange rituals, approaching our new relationships as mutual learning opportunities can help with our well-being, and practicing conscious communication as spiritual teaching and practice. So as I said, in terms of looking after our body, support our kidney health through proper hydration and gentle detox practices, lower back stretches to support renal function. Our renal pyramids can filter what serves from what doesn't, that's what they do in our body weight filters out waste and all of that. So in terms of how we can apply the renal pyramids, functioning to our own actions, filtering what serves us in our life and what doesn't, and doing the things to strengthen our boundaries and maintain them, while also teaching and learning and sharing with others. And it wants us to manifest relationships where teaching and learning flow between partners. So Uranus in retrograde is in the 7th degree of Taurus, has the Sabian symbology. A woman of Samaria comes to draw water from the well. It rules the vocal cords, and it wants us to use our voice to speak new truths, and our partnerships can sort of bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and the new truths as well. So it gives us the power, the influence, the astrological energy to rethink how we think about wisdom and receiving, nurturing within our partnerships, and giving it as well. It wants us to, get our information, draw from deep sources despite, social rules and convention, and wants us to look at out of the box thinking and techniques and transform our relationships with them, especially the relationship we have with ourselves. And it wants us to and allows us to access truth regardless if, we get social approval or not, So doing our own thing. Uranus always wants us to think outside of the box and not conform, right? So break conventional, traditional relationship rules. Negatively, we can be ostracized, rejected for wanting an unconventional relationships, like people who want thruples and stuff nowadays, or being different, sexually. We can also draw from corrupted sources, so following the wrong beliefs, and we can change too much, and this destroys the necessary foundations, routines in our life that we need to keep right now. So we have to be careful with this influence, right? And it also helps us to manifest those relationships that honor our authentic self over social expectations. Esoterically, it gives us access to the feminine wisdom about sacred partnership, and we may be open to spiritual technologies that can help us heal our relationships. But negatively on the esoteric level, it can cause spiritual rebellion that isolates us from genuine connection, and we can just, get relationship advice from people who shouldn't be giving it, unhealed sources. This can add to us bringing more or adding toxicity into our relationships. So we have to be careful what wisdom, what advice, especially when it comes to our relationship with ourselves and others, that we actually take on at this time. Do your research, ask if it works for you, think about it. As I said, this is not about taking action straight away for most of you this new moon. This is about writing things down, being intentional with your communication and actions as well, and working with, ancient goddess or energies for partnership guidance. And you can use water blessing ceremonies and stuff like that to cleanse yourself. In terms of our emotional health, it helps us to speak our truth, even if it makes ourselves and others feel uncomfortable. It wants us to be more emotional in our expression within relationships, and this can lead to breakthroughs into how we can heal our relationships. It gives us access in terms of our spiritual health to teachings that can transform our relationship path completely. In terms of our physical health, it allows us to focus on vocal health and throat chakra work, and how revolutionary relationship changes can affect our physical expression. In terms of our psychological health, it wants us to heal wounds about being different, especially in the ways we want to receive and give love, right? And integrate our outsider sort of relationship wisdom, the wisdom that can come from, accepting our different needs for romantic or other relationships, right? It helps us to make the changes to our relationship patterns that we need, and to speak new relationship intentions and bring them into real life, right? So in terms of looking after parts of our body, this degree rules our vocal cords, so vocal exercises and throat chakra work can be really good, and this can help us strengthen our relationships and help us with being authentic in our communication, right? And helps us with manifesting partnerships that honour our unique way of loving, and it can also just, allow us to get real about our relationship expectations. Pluto is in the 8th degree of Capricorn, and his Sabian degree symbology is birds in the house singing happily. It rules the lymph vessels of our knee, and it allows us to transform relationships, especially our domestic, family, friendship, intimate relationships, right? Allowing us to bring more joy and authentic freedom into our committed relationships and routines and structures. It allows us to find joy in relationship, commitment, and having the more wild aspects of our nature, wanting to be tamed or wanting to at least work in flow with other people's needs in our relationships, right? And in terms of the archetype of authentic happiness, that shows us that we can be happy in, structure and routine and commitment, as well as being freedom and doing our own thing. So it's very important not to lose ourselves in relationships anyway. And this Sabian degree just reminds us of not losing ourselves within relationships, but it can negatively cause us to people please and give a false sense of happiness and domestication in relationship. And, we can just be happy and fake joy, that mask our deeper relationship issues. So it's really important to confront transforming the changes that we need to make in our relationships, and not just stay superficially Instagram, social media happy, So it allows us to bring authentic joy into our relationship and manifest relationships where joy and freedom can coexist with commitment, On the esoteric level, it allows us to do shamanic and spiritual work in any types of relationship. Negatively, it can add to the spiritual bypassing of relationship shadow work through false positivity, avoiding deep partnership transformations by not facing problems, right? So we need to, do the changes, even though it's scary, it's hard sometimes to do and speak our emotions, right? And feel them. But, if we, the birds in this imagery is showing us the importance of song and music and creativity to help us deal with the hard things. So drawing your emotions, listening to music, sharing music with your partner to show what you're feeling, and to resolve relationship issues can help you right now. In terms of the health influences, it helps us in terms of our emotional health realize that happiness can coexist with relationship challenges. Only because we're going through a hard time in relationships doesn't mean we can't bring happiness and joy into them, but we must address problems as well. It wants us to integrate our wild and authentic self into committed partnerships on a spiritual level, and finding the sacred, the divine in ordinary relationship moments. So the spirituality in watching a TV show together or doing exercise together and stuff, doesn't always have to be profound, deep, meditative moments and stuff like that. Physically, it wants us to looking after our lymph health and our immune systems, right? Psychologically, it wants us to heal the split between our free authentic self and our partnered self, and integrate reflect both selves, express our authentic needs in a relationship, not lose ourselves in relationships. As I said before, this is very important. And, using singing and music and rituals can help with manifestation ceremonies, as well as bird imagery or being around real birds, and using vision boards, transforming your living space into a relationship sanctuary can help with your well-being, and using sound and other healing with partners during this time can really help, or just with yourself. In terms of body care, the practical steps that you can take to look after your lymph nodes, massaging them, especially around the knee area, gentle movement and dance with yourself or partners, doing things to support your immune health, taking the right vitamins and stuff like that, filtering out relationship toxins while protecting relationship joy is the best use of this energy, and work on manifesting partnerships where you work together rather than against each other, right? So Neptune is in the 6th degree of Pisces, and this symbology is officers and dress parade, and it rules the left collarbone bone in the human body, and this is when our spiritual idealism can meet relationship discipline. So the core message is having spiritual authority, discipline, service, and finding a balance between inspiration and organized action in our relationships, watching out for spiritual idealism in our relationships, and bringing more routine into our partnerships. The archetype of spiritual leadership that requires both vision and practical discipline is being activated here, and using spiritual discipline, so doing a spiritual practice together like Tai Chi or yoga or any meditation, right? Anything else like that can help you have a more organized approach to your relationship and build mutual respect within them as well. But negatively, we can have inflexible spiritual expectations in relationships, and this can lead to a military style control in partnerships, and our idealism can become authoritarian. So it's very important to let everyone speak in a relationship and realize, because you may want to think, your partner may want something else, and there's many ways to do things, and no one's ways is especially right. It may be right for them, but it may not be right for someone else. So it helps us to manifest partnerships, so bring more balance and practical commitment into our relationships. On an esoteric level, it helps us to, bring more spiritual chain of commands, hierarchy into our relationships by keeping mutual respect, and it can discipline our mystical practices in our relationship with, consciousness and fairness and balance. Negatively, it can add to us being controlling in relationships and using spirituality and mystical practices to control our partners, and we can have inflexible spiritual expectations, right? So it's important to create structure and routine and spiritual practices with partners in an organized way, using this to taking this approach to relationship manifestation work. In terms of our emotional health, it wants us to be more disciplined emotional expression in relationships, more balanced spiritual idealism with emotional reality in our partnerships, and more structure and routine and spiritual practice with our partners. This can help us with our consciousness relationship development, right? And it wants us to focus on our foot health and grounding practices. And physically, in terms of our physical health, focus on our spiritual discipline and how it affects our physical partnership intimacy, So just thinking about, is the things that you can do to improve your fitness that can help your intimacy, Psychologically, it wants us to heal controlling patterns in relationships and have more relationship humility and respect, to listen to different opinions, understanding that it's okay for our partner not to think exactly like us, and finding a balance in our relationships where everyone's needs can be met, right? In terms of our well-being, it wants us to, do things, spiritual practices that can support our partnership growth. Body care, we can do foot massages to our partners or ourselves, grounding exercises, walking, meditation that can support our spiritual discipline. It wants us to look after our left cubar bone by walking or stretching and just thinking about our relationship, discipline and consciousness in our communication and improving those, right? And just, really doing the work to practice being committed and bringing more mutual respect into our relationships. So now I'm going to talk about the karmic meaning of this new moon in Libra. So as I said, it wants us to find a balance between our independence and interdependence, without becoming too independent or too codependent as well. It wants us to create relationships that sort of improve and increase our authentic self rather than diminish it, reject it or not accept it. And it wants us to really focus on partnerships where both people can remain whole while creating something greater together. And it begins a new cycle around conscious relationship, right? Creation and mutual spiritual growth, but negatively. The karma involves patterns of codependency, people pleasing and losing ourselves in relationships to maintain harmony. Past life memories of you being a spiritual teacher who sacrificed personal relationships for service, or partnerships where power dynamics, vibes are unbalanced. Dreams can reveal memories of arranged marriages, spiritual partnerships that become controlling, or times when you had to choose between love and authenticity. So collectively, it's bringing karma around conscious partnership and balanced relationship structure and routines. It wants us to let go of the old paradigm, ways of having relationships based on need and moving towards more mutual choice-based relationships, right? Soul contracts that are being activated at this time involve agreements to learn healthy relationships and to teach others through your example of authentic partnership. And it's, reminding us that we're ready to change how we approach relationships and move away from the unconscious patterns that we have inherited from family systems and move into conscious partnerships creation that supports everyone's involves highest evolution growth, not just one person, and to look at every relationship, business, friendship, romantic, co-worker, or relationships and how we can improve them. So it really wants us, in terms of the manifestation, to focus on, coming together to create something greater than ourselves, living in harmony in all relationships, right? And looking for people who complement us rather than complete us, and finding that completion, that wholeness within ourselves, while maintaining our individual identity while being in partnership as well. We can write letters to our future self or partner describing the kind of relationship you want to create with someone else or create with yourself. You can practice mirror work where the conversation between your masculine and feminine energies are really pronounced, so you can set intentions to look after all different sides of your personality traits and needs, as I said earlier, and setting intentions for how you can dance together in relationships with others, or how the different personality needs of yourself can work together, so they can dance in harmony. So planting seeds of authentic communication, balancing giving and taking in relationship, bringing more beauty into relationships, and manifesting partnerships that support mutual growth and focus on sowing intentions around fair conflict resolution and shared values and values that increase life's beauty and meaning. You can do vision boards and goal setting that include images of couples or partnerships that embody the balance you seek, symbolize what you seek in yourself and relationships. And we use images of not just romantic couples but business partners, creative collaborators and spiritual companions. Add symbols of balance like scales, paired objects and beautiful harmonious settings which you can use to build your relationships. So yeah, So in terms of how this new moon affects different relationships, in our family relationship, it supports manifesting more balanced family dynamics where everyone's voice is heard and respected equally. So it's a perfect time to set intentions for healing family patterns around fairness and mutual respect. Friendships, it's great for attracting friendships based on mutual support and shared values rather than convenience or habit. It helps us focus on manifesting friends who celebrate our authenticity, you know. It's a good time for setting clear intentions about the kind of romantic relationships you want to create, you know, ones that balance independence with intimacy and passion with peace. It supports us attracting dating experiences that feel like conscious partnerships and us exploring things rather than a desperate search for casual encounters, you know. It's a perfect energy for healing the internal relationship between the different aspects of ourselves, the masculine and feminine, the practical and mystical, the independent and connected, and it allows us to create inner harmony that attracts outer partnerships, professional relationships. It's a good time to manifest business partnerships and collaborative team working projects and work on work-based relationships that are based on mutual respect and shared visions for success. Career, in terms of what we can manifest there, focus on attracting work partnerships and career paths that allow you to maintain a work-life balance while achieving professional goals. In terms of your personal development, you know, it supports manifesting mentoring relationships and learning partnerships where wisdom flows in both directions between teacher and student when we share the roles of being teacher and students, right? In terms of spiritual awakening, it's perfect for attracting spiritual community and partnerships that support our conscious evolution and joining study groups, practice, you know, groups where we can practice being best partners to ourselves and others and finding spiritual mentors or finding people where we can practice our spirituality with, you know. In terms of our educational needs, it's a good energy for manifesting learning opportunities that involve partnership and teamwork and, you know, exploring subjects like art, music or philosophy. In terms of our creative expression, it's a good energy to attract creative collaborators and artistic partnerships and opportunities to create beauty with others rather than working in isolation, you know. So in terms of questions that we can ask ourselves to help us with our self-reflection, in terms of our financial needs, we can ask, what beliefs about money and partnership are you ready to transform to manifest more abundant relationships? And this question confronts how financial fears or imbalances affect partnership creation. You can ask, how can I manifest partnerships that support mutual financial growth while maintaining individual financial integrity? And this explores balanced financial relationships versus codependent money patterns. In terms of our emotional needs, what emotional patterns do I need to heal to manifest authentic partnerships rather than relationships based on emotional need? This confronts emotional codependency and authentic versus needy relationship creation, you know. We can ask, how can I manifest relationships where my emotional sensitivity is appreciated rather than managed, you know, suppressed, held in? And this explores honouring emotional authenticity in partnerships and being our true self, you know, and finding our true self, you know. What are your needs, you know? How can we expect others to meet them if we don't know them? In terms of our spiritual growth, you can ask, what aspects of my spiritual path am I ready to share authentically in partnership without losing my individual connection to the divine? And this examines spiritual authenticity versus performance in relationships. You can ask, how can I manifest partnerships that increase my spiritual growth rather than distract from it or compete with it? And this confronts the integration of spiritual development with relationship commitment. So yeah, so in terms of advice for all of the 12 sun, moon and rising signs, Aries, this new moon is a great energy to manifest partnerships that honour your need for independence while creating space for mutual leadership and shared adventures. Taurus, focus focus on attracting relationships that provide stability and sensual pleasure while respecting your need for security and routine. Gemini, it's a perfect time to manifest partnerships based on intellectual connection, communication, and shared curiosity about life and learning. Cancer, it's a good energy to manifest relationships that provide emotional safety and nurturing while respecting your intuitive nature and family connections. Leo, attract partnerships that celebrate your creativity and leadership while providing mutual appreciation and opportunities for shared creative expression. Virgo, focus on manifesting relationships built on practical support, shared values and mutual service while maintaining healthy boundaries. Libra, this is your new moon moment, it's in Libra ray. It allows you to manifest partnerships that embody, represent your ideal of beauty, harmony and fairness in all relationship dynamics. Scorpio, it allows you to attract deep, transformative partnerships that honour your intensity while providing emotional safety for vulnerability and authentic intimacy. Sagittarius, manifest relationships that support your adventures and philosophical explorations while providing companionship for your life journey. Capricorn, focus on attracting partnerships that support your goals and ambitions while providing stability and long-term commitment. Aquarius, it's a perfect time to manifest unconventional partnerships that honour your uniqueness while creating space for humanitarian service together. Pisces, it allows you to attract spiritually connected partnerships that honour your sensitivity and intuition while providing grounding and practical support. So all in all, this Libra new moon helps us to heal relationships and manifest any type of relationship we want to bring into our life, or heal toxicity within our own relationship with ourselves or the relationships in our life, whether it's our family or intimate or business relationships, right? It's a perfect energy for attraction work, vision boarding with partners, and setting clear intentions about the kinds of relationships you want to create. It wants you to avoid making partnership decisions that are purely to please others or maintain harmony at the expense of authenticity, right? And be careful not to idealize partners or rush into commitments before establishing genuine compatibility, so as I said, not getting too idealistic. It allows us to work with others to attract financial abundance as well. It's a great energy to practice gratitude for relationships that support our financial goals while setting clear intentions about money and partnerships. In terms of our relationships, as I said, it's really, really good for conscious dating if you're single, doing visioning, vision board work and other meditations with current partners, and healing work around partnership patterns that keep repeating in your life. Use this energy for couples goal setting and creating shared visions for relationship growth if you are in a relationship. In terms of your health and wellness, focus on kidney health and your balance of your hormones, and activities that support your lower back during this relationship. Focus new moon, practice partner yoga, couples massage, or any wellness activities that involve balanced connection with others. It's a great time in terms of the spiritual development, as I said, to focus on meditation practices and manifestation work that involves spiritual community, and it's a great energy for all types of spiritual partnership work. Create altars with partnership focus and practice relationship as a spiritual path. In terms of creativity, it's great to work with others to bring more harmony and balance, starting projects or continuing ones that require cooperation and shared aesthetic vision. So it ultimately represents a powerful new beginning in how we can approach relationships and partnerships in all areas of our life. Our astrological dance floor is open and our partner is waiting, and we're being invited to learn new steps that honour both our individual authenticity and our capacity for beautiful connection with others. And the key themes of this new moon is conscious partnership creation, balanced relationship dynamics and manifesting connections that increase rather than diminish our true authentic self, and it wants us to and helps us to attract relationships or change relationships so that they complement our whole life, while also wanting us to focus on maintaining our individual identity and our personal growth, right? So with the teaching energy of the primary Sabian symbol, we're being called to approach relationships of mutual learning experiences where wisdom flows in both directions. Trust the dance, being open to new steps, new patterns, ways of being, new thought patterns, relationship patterns, and all of that, and allow yourself to manifest the partnerships that feel like coming home to yourself, while creating something beautiful with another, as well as opening up to understanding and healing or managing, depending on how far you are on your healing journey, all the different aspects of yourself, your weaknesses and your strengths, and creating that beautiful partnership with yourself as well, so you can have more harmonious relationships with other people. So yeah, I'm Amani, your holistic astrological life coach, and that's the end of this special on the new moon in Libra on October the 21st. Take care and see you next time.